Stephen Eustáquio came off the bench in Porto's season-opening win against Vitória de Guimarães. He looked good, at least. Hopefully, he claims a starting role as Porto has a big year ahead under Francesco Farioli. And Eustáquio seems to be in and out of this Porto squad, and he always seems to be in and out of this Porto squad, even though it gets consistent that he's on the bench. Like, what is up with Stephen Eustáquio, and why can't he hold on to a starting spot with Porto?
In part, man, that team is like, it's such a revolving door. Like there's such a, I guess to give a North American example, like in a lot of ways, they are very similar to TFC in the sense that they're constantly spending and chasing. And I mean, look, they've had more success than TFC, but in terms of just this revolving door, like in a lot of ways, and maybe I should have gone to give a Premier League club as an example, but when I look at Arsenal and the consistency under Arteta, you look at Man City, they changed a lot of pieces last year, but I think part of that was due, and they carried an old squad into the season. I couldn't find what I felt was a like for like Premier League comparison, but Porto, to me, they're constantly changing and tinkering and over tinkering. And as soon as Martin Anselmi was let go, or the rumor actually was that he was fired before they left New Jersey after they got ousted from the Club World Cup, I thought, this is bad for Eustáquio. And I wonder if actually that was part of like Jesse Marsch, like, look, sort out your life. Like, they're paying your paycheck. I know it's important for you, to have a strong club future. Obviously that's important for us, but like, figure out what's going on there with your life, and like, don't worry about the Gold Cup. And that's why he didn't come back, because I do think that now switching to a new manager, like, and Selmy backed him, and Selmy thought a lot of him, and he started that last game against Al Ahly, and that was in part like resting him and making sure he was good for a longer run in the tournament. And Selmy spoke very high of him. He kind of fit into the way that they were playing really well. I just don't know enough about the new guy. So the fact that he's not started obviously is concerning. And the fact that there were so many rumors about him even potentially moving, particularly once Anselmi was officially let go, and they only actually just put pen to paper on this final termination to compensate him and his whole team for sacking him so early in the preseason. I worry for Eustáquio. I wonder if maybe there's still a potential for a loan for him before the window is done, and I don't think that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about this one, because at the same time, Eustáquio feels like if there's a list of guys on the CanMNT who I'd back to go win their spot whenever it's in peril, he might be top 3, just because he's been through this before. He's so determined. And he's just such a likable, coachable player that even under Anselmi, he was playing center back at times, but it showed that he was willing to do whatever it takes to get into a lineup. And I think Farioli, yeah, you're right. Interesting CV. He was at Ajax last year. As we know, Ajax had a bit of a strange campaign. He doesn't really have much of a long CV beyond that. But it is definitely, looking at Porto, it's been a strange few years since Eustáquio's been there, because when we have to remember, at the start they won a lot, and they were, they kind of took a big step and were the top team in Portugal at the time. But then since then, Benfica have obviously done big things. Sporting under Amorim were doing huge things, and with Gyökeres and all that, and it kind of pushed Porto back down the pecking order. And it was strange, because off the back of their success, they've had some like 5 or 6 fantastic years of sales. Like the amount of guys that have come through the club, like Fabio Vieira, Vitinha, you think of Nico Gonzalez, who was one of the guys they bought with some of that money from the earlier sales, and then they sold for even more money. And then,
Otavio, they cashed in on Otavio, huge. Yeah, Samuel, yeah.
Saudi, got all over Otavio. Agüero was linked to go to Newcastle for a lot of money. But then the problem is they haven't really, replaced those guys as well as they have. They've kind of gone for a bit of a scattergun approach, where it's like every time you sell a guy for 50, you're bringing in 3 guys for 15. And that always is a bit tough, because you look at their squad right now, it's a bit bloated. Like, they're kind of loaded at all positions, especially Eustáquio's. So that's why on that side, I wouldn't mind him leaving, just because there's so much competition there that he deserves to be a starter and could go make it work. At the same time, what is in his favor, he's become a huge leader at Porto over the last 6 to 12 months. And I do think that with all the turmoil the club's kind of gone through on the field, at least, and even off the field, right? They changed presidents and had all sorts of changes. Having Eustáquio around as a leader feels like a smart move from them. And I think that's something the club will come to realize. And that's why I hope for him he sticks it out, because I just love this situation for him in terms of the way he's grown into it at this club. But you're right, it's tough because he's always in and out, and you want a bit of a consistent role that he deserves.
Yeah, it's a funny situation with Stephen Eustáquio because one week he can be a sub, one week he cannot even be in the squad, and then the next week he's starting and wearing the armband. Like it's so high or low, and it has been for several years since Porto kind of stopped winning and kind of changed their strategy in building roster, as you say, Alex.